this time around, or will Eastern pull away with another win and continue on the road to a Group 4 championship? The Shawnee Renegades duel the Eastern Vikings. Group 4 playoff action coming up next on Garden State Cable TV's High School Sports Spotlight.
Brilliant sunshine, a beautiful fall day for the beginning of the postseason in South Jersey football. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Voorhees, New Jersey. I am Jack Hibbert along with Mark Narducci for this, an opening round game between the Eastern Vikings and the Shawnee Renegades. It's Group 4 playoff action, Mark, and Group 4 is filled with South Jersey teams, and these are, frankly, two of the best. I mean, Eastern and Shawnee played each other just 2 weeks ago, and here they get to go at it again this afternoon in the opening round of the playoffs.
Yeah, Eastern got the better of that 21-14, Jack. But I was talking to Shawnee coach Tim Gashu. He says, hey, we have to really shore up our special teams. Adam Talafero of Eastern opened things up with a 90-yard kickoff return. That really hurt them. Other than that, I thought the Shawnee defense played a very, very good game against what is a very explosive Eastern offense.
Well, we saw that earlier this season on Garden State TV. Really an outstanding night by Adam Talafero. Of course, is one of the premier backs in South Jersey, leads South Jersey in scoring and rushing touchdowns. And, of course, that will be high on their priority list again today, Mark, to stop Talafero. But, you know, they had another little addition, and I say little facetiously, in the backfield during this season. He became eligible for that first game against Shawnee, and Davis will be a force here this afternoon.
There's no doubt about it. Mitch Davis, who came over from Highland, he's being looked at by Division 1A schools, and he gained 75 yards against Shawnee when he played in his first game for Eastern. He actually played against Shawnee while he was with Highland this year. They held him to 28 yards on 15 carries, but he's an explosive back. He can go coast to coast on any play. And what it does, Jack, now they can't just concentrate on Talafero. They have somebody else to watch. But, of course, you can never forget about Talafero. He somehow has a way of coming up big when the TV lights are on. Remember, against Cherokee, he had 188 yards and 3 touchdowns. Last year against Shawnee, 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. But you know what about Talafero? He plays pretty well whether the TV lights are on or off.
Well, as you mentioned, Shawnee did a pretty good job against those guys. You mentioned the 75 yards by Davis. Of course, one of those was a 60-yard run. So defensively, Mark, I think the Renegades feel like they can play in this ballgame. Let's talk about Shawnee offensively, because that's where they're struggling. 2 straight losses now for the Renegades. They only had 7 first downs against Overbrook a week ago, and they've got to get Connolly as involved as he can be in this offense, because I think he's the key in that option offense.
There's no question about it. Mike Conley's one of the most versatile players around. As you mentioned, last week against Cherokee, Shawnee only gained 77 yards on the ground, and Shawnee has to get more out of that. In fact, Conley passed for more yards than the team rushed for, and Coach Tim Gashu would rather see that the other way around. But in Mike Conley, he's a multi-purpose threat. He can get to the outside running the option. He's a very good passer. He's thrown 5 touchdowns, only 1 interception on the year. He's tremendous on defense. He's one of the better, I think, all-around players in a very talent-rich Olympic Conference American division.
You talk about Connolly, Mark, and it's interesting, at quarterback, he's the leading rusher for this team. So that shows you how involved he is in this offense and what a key he is here today. Well, as we mentioned, these teams are familiar with each other, both in the Olympic Conference here in South Jersey, and for the second time this season, in fact, the second time within 3 weeks, playing one another. As usual, we had the opportunity to talk to both coaches before the game, and we asked them about the opportunity to once again face each other.
I don't know if it's a negative or a positive. It's just, it's not, it's not as exciting as when you play any team twice. It obviously isn't as exciting as if you were to play somebody for the first time. We were hoping that we would get someone that we hadn't played before. You know, it makes it more interesting. I think everyone, when you go to a tournament, would like to play somebody different, maybe from a different area and so on. But as far as it mattering, it was such a close game. It came down. They were down around the 10 or 12 yard line or 20 yard line. I don't even remember now. But it could have gone either way. A pass here, a pass there. It could have been just the opposite as far as who won the game. So it's going to be a very close, contested fight, just like the first game. And I guess whoever gets better breaks is going to win. Our skilled people are good, and we have we're young up front, and we're not very big up front, and that of course is our biggest concern. But in our offense, a lot of times it doesn't necessarily mean that much because we don't block a lot of people with the option. So but our backs are very good. Their quarterback is the #1 guy. We have to stop him. The last game, we did all right stopping the run, and then he hurt us with the pass, which he can do. And he's a scrambler, and he's a good passer, and he's obviously their key. We have to stop him.
We know this team very well, and obviously they know us very well. Since we played them 2 weeks ago, it definitely means that they haven't changed their offense dramatically. They probably haven't changed their defense dramatically. So from a preparation standpoint, there's certain basics that I think the kids have well in their minds, and I don't think they shouldn't prove to be too difficult. However, I guess like all coaches, we worry so much. You start thinking, can you look at the same game plan? You go back, we watched their film, 5 times yesterday, trying to see little things that maybe could tip us off for certain plays or certain things on their defense. And it's tough. I think it's tough to tell. And I think the other part is anytime you play somebody twice, the psychological edges for either team, you can look at a lot of different ways. But I know it's always tough to beat somebody twice in 1 year. We faced that task in '96, and it was very difficult. I'm not saying that means we'll be the one that's going to end up being on top, but our kids have a certain motivation level because we're getting another shot at it. So we're excited about it. It's going to take controlling Adam Talafaro and Mitch Davis and quarterback. I think those 3 athletes do a great job. Andrew Dawson's our quarterback, and we know in the first game we did a pretty good job, but they still hit some big plays, and I think that's a big key. Offensively, we'd like to control the line of scrimmage maybe a little bit better than we did last time, and that's difficult too because they have an outstanding defense. So, it always comes down to maybe 3 to 5 plays, and I think last game 2 weeks ago definitely came down to that too. Hopefully, if it was another tight game like that, maybe it's our turn.
Well, familiarity sometimes can be a good thing, but as you heard these coaches talk about this game, they're both very cautious about today's meeting. Mark, you talk about this ball game and the familiarity with both teams. Sometimes basic is not enough. I know these teams want to stick to the game plan, maybe stick to a similar game plan as 2 weeks ago, but it may take a little bit more today.
I no question about it. I think Shawnee playing Eastern straight up may not be enough, and I think we can see maybe some razzle-dazzle, a halfback option, or some kind of big play like that to try to throw Eastern off. I think Shawnee's coming out with all guns, and maybe we'll gamble a little bit more than Eastern, which will probably play it more straight up.
Well, a new season has begun here on Garden State Cable TV, the postseason, the opening round of the Group 4 playoffs, and it's Eastern and Shawnee coming up right after these words.
Get connected to local sports with GSC Sports Connection, Garden State Cable's weekly live call-in sports program. We'll check out local fall and winter sports, along with a host of other hot topics from the South Jersey sports community. Join host Bob Bombera as he discusses the local sports scene with a variety of expert guests. It's your chance to call in with questions and comments. That's GSC Sports Connection, live every Thursday at 7, only on Garden State Cable's GSC2. There comes a time in every athlete's life when speed, agility, timing, and teamwork are most important. That time has come, and when field hockey is the sport and the players are all-stars, there's no time for fooling around. The red and the blue will give everything they have to reach their goal in the South Jersey Field Hockey Club All-Star Game. Watch all the exciting action on Garden State Cable's GSC2, Saturday, November 28th at 8.
Welcome back to Voorhees, New Jersey, the home of the Eastern Vikings, as Eastern gets set to take on the Shawnee Renegades in this, the quarterfinal round of the Group 4 playoffs. We've never been able to say that, Mark, until 1998 this season. The newly expanded playoff format of 8 teams in each field creates a quarterfinal round, and it's between, as we mentioned at the top of our program, 2 teams very familiar with one another. There's Larry Ginsberg, the head coach here at Eastern High School. What a job he's done here. Interestingly enough, Mark, Eastern won the opening toss, the coin toss, under Coach Tim Gashu. But the Vikings have decided to defer their choice until the second half. They must feel they're not going to get another opening kickoff return for a touchdown.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm Shawnee, I wouldn't kick it anywhere near Talifero for what he did to them before, and certainly the ability he has again. Shawnee, as we said, Jack, has to pick it up on special teams. Last week, Cherokee got a 50-yarder against them and got very good field position, and that kind of altered things early on. So this is an area of the game that really has to pick it up for the Renegades.
Well, Shawnee will get the ball first, so it'll be offense that the Renegades will operate to start this game. There is number 26, Jason Kay, pretty good kicker here for this Eastern team. He played a part in that first game also with a key punt. Connolly, who is also the quarterback, returns kickoff and takes this thing out across the 30-yard line where the Shawnee offense will take the field. Let's take a look at the starting lineups this afternoon. First, for the offense of Shawnee, up front it's Paul, Webb, Thomas, Angermeyer, and Long at center. The tight end is Kalla, the wide receiver, Palco, into the backfield, O'Connor, Glover, McDowell, and of course the quarterback, Mike Connolly.
Shane Hall at 6'7", 295. You won't find a bigger tackle in South Jersey.
Hall at 295. The other tackle, Webb, at 276. First carry of the contest goes to Mike Glover for a couple of yards. Here's the defense up front. Evans, Wren, Hillman, and Doherty for Eastern. The linebackers are Mongan, Khan, and Rodier. And in the defensive secondary, Adam Talifero, Brown, Dawson, and Goins. Second down at about 7. After the gain of 3, Connolly on the option, only about a yard. So it'll be 3rd and 5. Bill Mongan makes the stop for Eastern.
Remember when we sold Eastern before, Jack? They have tremendous team speed, especially at the linebackers. They're not big. Mongan, Amir Khan, and Keith Rodier don't have a lot of size, but they really get to the ball. It's tough to run outside on this group.
3rd down and 5, and they'll pitch it to Glover this time, trying to get around the outside. He's close to first down yardage. The Shawnee players on the sidelines clapping. It looks like Glover may have picked up the 5 yards. It depends on the spot, and we're going to get an official timeout for a measurement. This looks to be very close, but now on second look, the officials say yes, indeed. And the Shawnee fans like what they see here. A first down with the ball across the 40-yard line.
If Shawnee can get outside like that, Jack, I mean, that's certainly going to aid the Renegades. As we said, the Eastern pursuit is just outstanding.
And I think the Eastern coaches, Mark, coming into this game, think they've got perhaps better team speed. There aren't many teams that have better team speed than, of course, the Eastern Vikings. And you're right, I agree with you. If they can get outside, that will present big problems here today.
Boy, again, Jack, Amir Khan, all 167 pounds of him, was right in there first on the tackle.
O'Connor, the ball carrier, and he lost about a half a yard.
Of course, we know about O'Connor's great athletic ability coming in and helping that basketball team at the point guard position.
Second down, 11. Glover in motion. Connolly with the option that way, looking to throw. Not a receiver in the area, and he's under some pressure here. Reverses field, and he's got some blocks. Connolly across the 50-yard line, the 45, inside the Eastern 40-yard line. Boy, great individual play, but hold everything. There is a flag thrown at the Eastern 45, and this one may be coming back on the block.
I'll tell you, no matter what happened, Mike Glover, number 23, did a great job sticking with his block that time and giving Connolly the room. Now, you'll see on the right side of the screen, you don't see Glover there, but he just, there it is. Beautiful job there to let him get to the outside. And again, that flag came near the end of the play there, Jack.
Yeah, about 13 yards downfield on the run, and it is a clipping call that's going to put the ball all the way back to the Shawnee 41-yard line.
So you give him a gain of 13. That happened right near the end, and it'll be 2nd and 12 now from the 41.
Great individual effort for Tim Kashew's quarterback that time, Mike Connolly, but wiped out by the penalty.
I just loved how Glover stayed with that block, though. That's a real good sign when one of your top ball carriers blocks that way.
Handoff to the fullback. The ball's on the ground, but I think they're going to rule that he was down on contact. Very short gain that time of just about 2.
Jack, you alluded to it in the open. Shawnee with a very balanced team, no marquee back, but 6 running backs have gained 180 yards or more. So they've shown pretty good balance.
We mentioned that Connolly came in the team's leading rusher with 414 yards. Glover right behind him with 413. 3rd and 11. Connolly looking to throw. He's going to the outside, looking for Phillips, and he's got him for a first down all the way to the Eastern 31-yard line.
Jack, Chaz Brown, the corner on that play was right there. He just never looked up. I mean, the coverage was right there. Phillips was able to make the play. Look at Conley throwing off his back foot that time, too. But Brown is there. Look, he doesn't look up. You don't see it till the end there, but he's right with him. Fine individual play by Phillips and by Conley.
25-yard pickup and a first down for the Renegades in Eastern Territory. They'll keep it on the ground. Glover's got it. Gets hit at the line of scrimmage on a big defensive play by Clint Hicks.
Now, Clint Hicks, who wasn't in our starting lineup, in there right now, we know what a big play performer he is. Remember when he had the interception return for a touchdown against Cherokee? So he's a guy that can make a lot of big plays.
Hicks, a 5'7", 145 junior.
See, when everything all is settled and Eastern has Shawnee bottled up, the difference could be Conley, because he's just a playmaker, Jack, and he gives you that spread. He can throw on the run. He can certainly roll out and gain yardage running, as we've seen.
Little misdirection play with Glover getting the inside handoff. He beats the defender. Glover down the sideline to the 5. Touchdown! 31 yards away, and the Renegades on the board.
Jack, he put a tremendous move that time right on Clint Hicks. I thought Hicks was in good position to get him, and Glover just juked him and made a big-time move. Watch, is a tremendous blocking, too, along the front line. There it is. Look at that. He just left him in his tracks that time. Also, Shane Hall, 71, got a crunching block to free him out early on.
So the senior running back has the Renegades on the board on their opening possession. The extra point attempt is up, and it is good. So with 7:15 left to go here in the first quarter, Eastern, who won the coin toss, deferred, unable to hold on defense, and Shawnee with a 7-0 lead.
That's a really impressive drive, and obviously a key play was Conley's 25-yard pass on 3rd down to Phillips when he threw it off his back foot, and the coverage was there, just didn't look up that time, but Shawnee made the plays.
Overcoming a critical penalty, too, which took them out of Eastern Territory. And they were able, as I said, to overcome that penalty and get the yardage back on that big pass play. And, of course, a huge run there, 31 yards by Glover, who now has over 40 on 4 carries.
9-play, 67-yard drive. That's a vintage Shawnee drive. And, again, Shane Hall, we talked about him, 295 pounds, really got that first lead block.
And what do you think, Mark? Coach Ginsburg, who acted rather nonchalant about having to play Shawnee again here just 2 weeks after they played him earlier this year, suddenly knows he's in for a fight here this afternoon. His club down 7-0 before they ever touched the football.
Keep in mind, they were down to Cherokee, they were down to Triton. Eastern's used to playing from behind.
Kickoff is high and deep, and who's got it? Davis inside the 10-yard line. Looks for a couple of blocks, gets to the sideline. Mitch Davis all the way out across the 30-yard line. The ball is loose, and Shawnee's got it back. The Renegades get a big turnover, already have a 7-0 lead, and will take it back in terrific field position.
Well, we talked about that they'd have to pick it up on special teams, and already to get a turnover like this. It looked like causing the fumble there was Chris Nardi from behind as he hit it out that time. And Jack, I would go for the big play on first down. I'm always big on doing this when you just get a turnover.
From the 34-yard line, Eastern showing some pressure. Connolly with a play-action pass, and they were thinking about going for the big one. He doesn't have a receiver and will be knocked out of bounds near the line of scrimmage. Good defense downfield by the Eastern secondary. And Mark, a good job by Connolly, who's only thrown one interception in this 98 season.
Well, he's such an intelligent player. Remember, Jack, he inherited the quarterback spot about 4 games into his sophomore year, so he's been at this position pretty long. And he was on that team back in '96 that went all the way to the Meadowlands and then lost to Washington Township in the South Jersey Group 4 final. So he's been involved in a lot of big games.
Loses a yard on that play, so it's 2nd down and 11. Glover comes in motion. They'll fake the handoff to McDowell, and Conley will take it straight ahead to about the 26-yard line. Nice gain, of course, still short of the first down, but nice option run here by Conley.
Well, I think Conley and his counterpart, Andrew Dawson, are tremendous guys at reading the option, Jack, and making the right reads and turning up the field when they have to.
We did not see Eastern run the option all that much the first time we were here, but they are very capable of doing that. They'll keep it on the ground with Tom O'Connor taking it around the left side. O'Connor looks like he has enough for the first down near the 21-yard line.
I think you'll find that O'Connor is going to be one of the better athletes in the sophomore class in South Jersey. And Shawnee continues to have more success in there. He cut it in that time, but more success at least starting to the outside.
Well, instead of running inside those big tackles, they're trying to, well, there they run inside with McDowell. They're trying to get outside the tackles, and so far doing a good job. McDowell to the 15-yard line. And a pickup of about 7 there.
Jack, one thing is, up front, the offensive line for Shawnee, Shane Hall, Matt Thomas, Mike Lawn, Mike Algemeyer, Dave Webb, and of course the tight end Jim Calla, they're opening up some pretty big holes.
Those big tackles, as we mentioned, Webb and Hall going nearly 300 pounds apiece. Connolly looking to throw, has a receiver. Is it a catch? Yes, they're going to roll complete inside the 10-yard line. Looked for a moment that time that Rich Palco juggled on his way out of bounds, but they ruled it a completed catch and a first down.
Now, I think that was a good call. Palco did a good job of again, keeping his feet. And look at the blocking that he's getting. You don't see a blue shirt anywhere around Conley.
First and 10, first and goal, as a matter of fact, with the ball at the 8-yard line. A flag on the play. Glover has a touchdown, but let's wait and see about the infraction as one was thrown.
I thought I saw motion. Now we'll see how that goes.
It is a hold that will bring this one back. The call made by our referee, Hugh Gibson. The referee today, Hugh Gibson. The linesman is Bruce Alston. Dave Badman, the back judge. Jeff Gordon is the umpire. Joe Falcone, the left judge.
Can't see it there. I thought Glover had started a little bit early. That's why I thought they called, but that's a big penalty for the Renegades.
Well, Shawnee had a clip in their first drive that they were able to overcome. Let's see what they can do about this now. First and goal, with the ball now back at the 17-yard line.
Some room on that left side for Conley if he wants to go that way.
Glover in motion on this misdirection offense, and swarmed in the backfield is Tom O'Connor as he came from the right wing and lost about 4 or 5.
Great job by Mike Doherty that time, number 68. He just flew right through the block and caused the 4-yard loss there.
Second and goal now from the 20-yard line. Connolly will throw. He's got some time. They set up the screen. It's complete to Calla. Calla inside the 15-yard line to about the 14, but only a gain of 6. It'll be third and goal from that point.
I thought excellent reaction that time by Keith Rozier, the linebacker, because Shawnee set this up very well, going to the left and then the screen to the tight end to the right side, and there's some blockers in front, and look at Rozier there, 35, playing off that block and coming in on the tackle. That's a great job.
Calla's 9th catch of this season. He leads the team in receiving. Big play here for both teams. Third and goal from the 14-yard line. Shawnee already with a 7-0 lead. Under pressure, Connolly's got a receiver wide open, and the ball was dropped. Tom O'Connor was open, but he couldn't hang on, maybe too wide open.
He was just absolutely wide open in the left flat that time.
The Renegades will send out the field goal unit. Chad Williams is the kicker. Here's another look. And the ball just dropped. Talafero was the closest guy, and he was back at the goal line, Mark.
I think that O'Connor looked up first before and just had a little look at Talafero, and that may have altered his concentration.
Williams has 3 field goals this season. This is a 31-yarder. The kick is up. Plenty of leg. It's good. So the turnover on the kickoff by Eastern results in 3 points from Shawnee. And you know, Mark, after the Renegades had a first and goal inside the 10, this isn't so bad for Eastern.
Well, and you know what's important about this from a confidence standpoint? Last week, Williams against Cherokee, with about 4 seconds left in the half, missed on a field goal. And that would have put Shawnee obviously on the board and everything. I think to come back and kick a 31-yarder, that's certainly going to help the whole team's confidence. Jack, we talked about special teams. They get a field goal here. They get a fumble recovery. I think Shawnee's picked it up on special teams.
Yeah, that was their demise the first time these two teams met, but they've been almost perfect coming up, as you said, with a fumble and now a field goal. And Shawnee with an early, and it is early, 3:43 left here in the first quarter, but the Renegades have dominated so far, leading it 10-0, and Eastern still looking for their first offensive play of the ball game. Riddick will kick it away for Shawnee. It is high, but not real deep. Picked up by Talafero at the 12. Talafero breaks to the sideline. Look out. Adam Talafero to midfield before he stops. That's the guy that can turn a game around by himself. You have to wonder why you want to even kick it to him, but they did. And he's got Eastern in great starting field position on their first offensive possession. Here's a look at the starting lineup, or we'll have the starting lineup for you momentarily for Eastern. Up front, it's Bierman, Kupchik, Wren, Martin, and Herring. In the backfield, they're at tight end Ferrante, the wide receiver Scott. Carter's the fullback. He used to be a running back. Talafero and Davis. The running backs, Dawson is the quarterback. They've moved Mark Carter from running back to fullback with the presence of Mitch Davis now in the backfield.
Well, with Davis, you've got to get him his carry, so a lot of good athletes in this backfield.
Dawson with a pitch to Talafero. They try to get him outside. Good pursuit by the Shawnee defense. First guy there was number 22, Mike Curcio. Here is a look at that defense for Shawnee. Thomas and Calla are the ends. Big Shane Hall and Dave Webb, the huge tackles. The linebackers, O'Connor, Reynolds, Bomber, and Curcio, who just made the play. And in the backfield, it's Glover, Phillips, and Mike Connolly.
Glover also came up very strong on that play. Talafero got a few extra yards on his own.
Lost a yard on the play in total, however, so it's second and 11.
Right. Okay, my mistake. I thought.
Mitch Davis with his first carry dives forward again. Curcio makes the stop, but a flag thrown back on Dawson. And we'll have to wait and see what this is about. This was back, Dawson was hit. We've got a personal foul called against Shawnee, so maybe a late hit by the Renegades after the handoff to Davis.
You know, in this offense, Dawson takes a pounding because he holds on to the ball till the last second, and you know, Shawnee has a guy guarding Davis and shielding him all the time, and this is a big call because it now might make Shawnee think twice about it and give Dawson you know, a little bit extra time on things.
Well, it's a big call because instead of 3rd and 11, it gives Eastern a first down. They put Talaferro in the slot, give it to Mitch Davis. Davis over the right side of his line. Across the 35 to about the 34. He picks up 4 yards on the play. It'll be 2nd and 6. From the wishbone formation on 2nd down. Now a blitz shown by the Renegades. Dawson keeps it on the option play, and he is hit in the backfield as pursuing was Jim Calla, the defensive end, and Calla with the sack.
First time they played, the defense did a great job against Eastern, not letting Eastern get to the outside. Now, obviously, Calla and the other end, Matt Thomas, will have that responsibility. Look at this from the backside. He's able to catch him, and Dawson hesitated and paid for it right there. Didn't see any opening.
Well, Mark, nobody touched Calla. I mean, he came in unimpeded, as they say, to the quarterback, and a loss of 3 on the play. Third and 9. Dawson squares up to throw. It's fluttering around. Connolly tipped it away at the last moment. And who has it? Shawnee on the interception. Nice play as they got a double team back there from Connolly and number 29, Tom O'Connor. Let's take another look.
Jack Reynolds, number 44, made the pick, Jack. This ball put up there, and I thought actually both teams had a shot at it at first. First there's the bobble, then I thought Eastern was going to come down with it. Now watch 44 as he'll just come, not even there, you won't even see him yet. Look at this hustle. Right there in the screen. That's a great job by Reynolds.
So Shawnee, the benefactor of another turnover, so they get it back on offense. How about the Renegades, Mark, who have had 3 really critical penalties here in this first quarter? So far, none of them really has hurt them. I mean, you could make a case and say, well, they got 3 instead of 7. But they so far, even making mistakes, are coming out smelling like roses.
Yeah, it can't happen the whole game, though, and I know Tim Cashew realizes that.
On 2nd down, they'll keep it on the ground. And a short pickup will bring up 3rd and about 5. Like Curcio carried that time for Shawnee. Just his 2nd carry of the game. So 3rd down at about 3.5. We're down to perhaps the last play of this first quarter. A quarter that has been owned by the Renegades, and I don't think that Shawnee's going to run a play off here with just 5 seconds remaining.
Well, any quarter you get to have Adam Talaferro not touch the ball offensively. From a defensive perspective, that's a pretty good quarter for your team.
And as far as Easton is concerned, only 5 offensive plays. It has been all Renegades. Cashew's got to like what he's seen so far. Shawnee 10, Eastern nothing. And Eastern looking to change things up here, as in this quarterfinal round of the South Jersey Group 4 playoffs. They find themselves in a 10-0 hole.
Jack, I said Tal Farrow didn't touch the ball from scrimmage. He had the one carry for the -1 yards, but I mean, if you can limit his carries like that, and most of it was because of turnovers, but still, you have to like that, because now this defense only has to really play against him for 3 quarters.
Of course, that can be an eternity against a guy like Talafaro. Lots of time left in this one, but I know the Vikings didn't want to start in the kind of hole that they have dug for themselves here in this one.
There's a big play defensively right here for Eastern.
3rd down and about 3.5, maybe 4 yards. Glover will go in motion. Connolly, and a flag on the play, I think, will be another penalty against Shawnee.
That time it looked like a false start.
That's what we've got, as you can see. Hugh Gibson with the call. 5 yards back might certainly change the play here for the Renegades. Now instead of 3rd and about 3, they've got 3rd and 8. Connolly has been perfect throwing the football so far today, 3 for 3. Let's see what they do here on 3rd and 8.
Jack,
And
there was
again,
the movement by the Eastern defensive line that time.
this one is going to go against the Vikings, so we'll go back to 3rd and 3. The teams trading penalties. These two teams will take on the winner of Cherokee Brick Township, a game also taking place this afternoon. On 3rd and 3, Connolly on the option, keeps it. And we'll have to wait and see about the spot, but it looks from here that he may be just a little shy of the 1st down. I think they'll call for the chains.
I agree with you, Jack. I think he's just short.
Of course, we mentioned the winner here faces Brick Township or Cherokee. The other games taking place today in Group 4. Lenape at Overbrook and Pennsauken at Millville.
Which I think the Pennsauken-Millville game might be one of the best first-round games around. Millville primed off of an upset win over Ocean City.
Well, you saw that Connolly got just enough for the 1st down, so Shawnee still in business with the 1st down across their own 20-yard line.
Shows you my eyes from up here thinking it was just short. But, I mean, that's a good first-round game, and I think Pennsauken is primed for a very, very good game. We saw them against Overbrook, give Overbrook all it could handle.
Wouldn't that be some rematch, too, Mark, if it were to be Pennsauken and Overbrook, the game that we had a couple of weeks ago here on Garden State?
Well, Jack, you'd have to figure that Millville is in for a little bit of a letdown after such an emotional win, overcoming a 12-point deficit against what was the #1 team in South Jersey last week. As I said, if a team is primed to come in and win on the road, I think it's Pennsauken today.
A procedure call against the Renegades will bring up 1st and 15 now.
Justin Barton into the game. Of course, he's going. He's starting right offensive tackle. Now he's coming in to give Eastern just a little bit of beef here on the defensive line. The Shawnee offensive line has had its way with things.
Curcio with the inside handoff, and he jets across the 25 to about the 26-yard line. Nice pickup of almost 10, but of course that'll be well short of the 1st down after the penalty. I went with the quick hitter that time, a little backhand off to Curcio. Curcio lining up at the fullback position with O'Connor and Glover at the wings. Inside handoff to Glover, who has a 31-yard touchdown earlier in this ball game and picks up 7 there for a 1st down for Shawnee.
The guard, Matt Thomas, that time, just a tremendous block. The guys up front are really doing a job here for the Renegades.
Well, we mentioned that Eastern, I think Mark felt they had the advantage in team speed, but it looks like right now at least that Shawnee out-muscling them with their bigger size on the line. On first down, Curcio again this time hits right at the line of scrimmage. Barton in there along with big number 75, Chris Kupchik.
Chris Kupchik, one of the impressive juniors on this Eastern team, 6'3", 252. As we said in our other broadcast, I don't know if there's any team in South Jersey that has a better group of juniors than the Vikings. I think Barton's going to stay in here defensively because it's just a little bit tougher to push out a 285, 290-pound guy like him.
Glover trying to get to the outside, a flag thrown on the backside of the play. And we'll have to wait and see about this call, but that could be, again, another penalty against Shawnee. And it is a holding call. Renegades plagued a little bit with penalties. They lead, though, 10-0. And to this point, and not to sound like a broken record, they have been able to overcome some of these mistakes. As Mark mentioned, you can't get away with it forever. Boy, Mark, we don't keep the statistic, but time of possession here today must just be overwhelmingly, of course, in favor of Shawnee so far. Of course, Eastern has only had 5 offensive plays.
Actually, I could keep it, but I need some time to add it up. Like halftime.
Glover's got the ball. He's got a hole. He's got the penalty yardage back as he picks up about 10 on the play.
Jack, if we could see that play again, who was leading the blocking but none other than Conley? I mean, the guy just does it all. He was right up in the front there as Glover was looking to make his turn.
Well, on that option, you are called upon as a quarterback many times to lead the way after the pitch, and Connolly with a nice job there. 3rd down and 9. They need to get the ball out to the 44-yard line for a first. Connolly with time, now flushed out of the pocket on the run. Barton had a hand on him. He's still on his feet. Connolly the first down, and he's down the sideline. Still on his feet, but they say knocked out of bounds at the Eastern 41-yard line. What a great individual play by Conley.
Tremendous escapability, and you were right on that call, Jack. I thought Justin Barton might be able to trip him up there for what would have been, I thought, short of the first down. Good coverage, by the way, by the Eastern secondary. And Conley, again, showing the ability to get out of the pocket. Mongum was chasing him there. Terrific job.
1st and 10. Now Curcio in motion. They bring it inside to O'Connor. And O'Connor ahead for about 4 or 5. Well, we thought it would be the dominating running attack of Eastern that would have to be dealt with. So far, Shawnee making quite a statement of their own here today. Second and 6 inside handoff, and look at Curcio. He's got the first down inside the 30-yard line to about the 29.
Jack, there's nothing fancy here. They are blowing them off the ball. Shawnee fans kind of enjoying that.
Well, Eastern takes the 2 big guys out, Kupchik and Barton, to the sideline. First down for Shawnee. Little misdirection, and it's Glover over the right side. Glover wheels his way forward to about the 25. That'll be another 4 yards.
You know what I like, too? How Shawnee's mixing things up. Misdirection that time to the outside. They've been pounding it inside.
Glover was 65 yards here in this first half. Still 7 minutes to go till the break.
We talk about Eastern speed. Remember, Glover last year did a 10.8 in 100 meters. That's not exactly slow.
They got Joe Phillips in the backfield now, but he'll be a lead blocker for Glover, and Glover just a couple of yards to about the 22.
Mike Doherty making a nice play that time, getting to the ball very quickly for Eastern.
So another big third down play coming up for Shawnee.
Again, what they do is on these plays, they've been rolling Conley out, and if he doesn't see anybody open, he goes off to the races.
Curcio at fullback. Glover now for the left wing in motion. Connolly again tried to take off, but this time you talk about team speed. How fast was Ted Goins in there? Just a yard for Connolly, and Goins was right in on the play.
Goins reacted very quickly, although here on fourth down, if you're Shawnee, obviously you have to go for it. I think it's too far out. It would be about a 39-yard field goal attempt if they try to go that way.
Which, by the way, Williams had enough leg on the last attempt for 39, I think, Mark, but kicking into the wind
Yeah,
here.
this is the right move. No matter what happens, I think this is the right move for the Renegades.
Fourth down at about 3. This time, Connolly the left side. He's got time, gets rid of the football, and has a first down, complete to number 81, Jim Calla. Picked up the 7 yards and has the first down.
They've done a great job isolating the tight end to the outside, and Brown was about 5 yards off him.
And
That
Mark,
play's been open all game.
how about Connolly? Not really known as a terrific passer. I mean, he gets the job done. He doesn't make mistakes, but he was only hitting on about 46% coming in. He's a perfect 4 for 4 today. Here's Phillips with a hole over the left side. One man to beat. Takes him inside the 4-yard line. Hanging on for dear life that time was Chaz Brown.
Jack, Shane Hall, number 71, just absolutely made a crunching block that time to spring Phillips. Shane Hall is playing inspired football here today.
Well, Hall, the senior, 6'7", 295 pounds. And you're right, Mark. He really led the way there. An 11-yard pickup for Phillips on his first carry of the day.
Hall's playing like somebody who's getting Division 1A interest today here.
First and goal from the 4-yard line. Glover with a football, trying to get around the outside. Look out, he's got daylight. Tries to dive toward the goal line. Is hit by Talafaro and falls at the 1.
See, that's a great job by Glover, because I thought Dawson, the safety, actually had a pretty good angle on him early on. Watches Dawson, makes him go outside, and he still had enough speed to burst there. And then Talafaro, wow, what a collision.
A 3-yard pickup for Glover, so now second and goal from the 1-yard line. Connolly trying to get in and does not.
No, he doesn't. I think he may have lost a yard there.
Indeed, it looks like they're going to move the stick back just a little. Good job by Eastern to stand tall there, but they'll have to do it again here on third and goal. And now an official's timeout. And they'll start the clock with just 3.5 minutes left to go here till halftime.
Now, Jack, it still looks like it's at the 1 there.
Third and goal. Glover. Does he get in? He slid underneath, and yes, got the touchdown. Glover's second TD of the day, and Eastern now finds themselves down by a score of 16-0.
Well, no surprise. They ran left side. We talked about Hall there, and Glover just making it on second effort. Calla there also getting his nose in there, throwing a block. Eastern has to be stunned right now.
I guess so. The Vikings with just 1 yard of offense here in this first half, and just 5 offensive plays, it has been all Shawnee. The extra point attempt is up and just good, just inside that right post. So with 3:18 left to go till halftime, it's now Shawnee 17, Eastern nothing. A very long drive by the Renegades, taking up almost this entire second quarter. Just 3:18 left to go.
It was a 20-play drive.
Well, they needed all 20, Mark. They had several penalties in there that they had to overcome. But I mean a time-consuming, just incredible drive by the Renegades.
Key play there, Jack. Remember when it was 4th and 3 from the 22, and Conley found Cal, the tight end, pretty wide open there for the 7-yard gain in the first down.
Tim Kajew's got to be just thrilled about what has transpired so far. Of course, we're a long way from over, but what a way to start. 17-0, and you haven't even given your opponent to play a chance hardly to play on offense. Now this time a little bit of a shorter kick, and it doesn't get to Talifero. Omar Miles carrying. He tries to break to the outside and does get it out near the 40-yard line. So again, a pretty good starting field position for Eastern. But the Vikings have got to do something here in the last 3:10 of this first half that they can feel good about going to the locker room.
But their offense isn't the kind that they can just expect to start throwing bombs. They still have to stick with the option, with the running game, because that's really what they do best.
Eastern 2 turnovers in this first half, and as we mentioned just moments ago, just 1 yard of offense. They start on their own 38, 1st and 10, and Dawson will look to throw on first down. He's got a block and some time, but he underthrows the intended receiver.
Jack, if this is a clipping call, there's a flag here. That may have been on Mitch Davis on the pass blocking. Right as Dawson was ready to throw, I saw Davis get somebody in the back there.
Oh, Mark, and, you know, just as you mentioned, stick with the game plan and try to do what you do best. Eastern comes out firing on first down.
Watch number 20 there.
Here.
Watch 20 in your screen.
Yep.
Look at that.
Made it an easy call for the officials. And that'll take the ball all the way back to the 20-yard line. Where it's first down now, but 27 to go for a first. Almost 28 yards. 1st and 28. Inside handoff to Carter, who breaks away from the pursuit and gets out across the 30-yard line to about the 32. Now they'll mark it back at the 30 now for a gain of 10. .235 left to go here till halftime. These Renegades with a 17-0 lead, and the defensive unit for Shawnee should be well rested. Carter's got the handoff again. This time was not the same result, as in quickly on the play making the first hit was Kevin Baranowski, the defensive end for Shawnee, number 26. But a penalty against the Renegades this time, and it looks like a face mask, and that should equal things out here. As from the spot of the foul, that should be very close to giving Eastern a first down. I don't know whether it comes on the tackle or not, Mark. Kind of hard to see. Maybe right at the end there. Yep.
We couldn't see the number of the player, but you could see it clearly at the end now.
That will give Eastern their first down of this first half. check that. They got a first down on a penalty. They got a first. Their only other first down came on a penalty on their first possession.
When Dawson got hit right on that late hit.
This just the second offensive possession for Eastern. They have the ball near midfield, 1st and 10. Talafero tries to get around the outside, now cuts it back in. Talafero shoved out a play by Phillips, but not before he's got a first down in Shawnee territory at the 41-yard line. I said 41, right at about the 39.
Well, here's Talafero. He burst out. I think that was meant to start inside, but his instincts got him outside, and then he's just going to bowl for more yardage. Gets out of bounds. Clock stopped anyway because of the first down.
1:51 to go. Still halftime. Eastern trying to get on the board, down 17-0. Dawson on the option, tries to turn it upfield and cannot do it. Fine defensive play by Jack Reynolds. The linebacker got in and grabbed onto the feet that time of Dawson.
He did what you want to do against an option play too, Jack. He turned the play in. That was a great job by Reynolds. Of course, he had the interception earlier in the half and made a very big play right there.
Clock continuing to run. Eastern with all 3 timeouts left. 1:20 to go. Be under that by the time they snap the football. 2nd and 9. Here comes the blitz. Carter tries to tape it up the middle, and Carter loses the football, and Shawnee's got it back. The Renegades will take over with 1:10 left till halftime and all 3 timeouts still to go.
I think Shane Hall made the recovery and also made the tackle. That was a great play that time.
3rd turnover for Eastern in the first half. And you can see the frustration starting to mount a little bit here. Gary Bierman very upset.
See, they never really got the handoff clean. There's Shane Hall on the ground there, and he recovers it.
Right place, the right time for Hall. And now, if you're Shawnee with a 17-0 lead, you certainly take a couple of shots here with 1:10 left. Glover tries to get around the outside. Glover across midfield and knocked out a play. That'll stop the clock. About an 8 or 9 yard pickup for Glover, and they only use 6 seconds of the clock. He got across the 50-yard line, or rather across the 45, and almost picked up a first down. Got about 8 on the carry. Had a fine first half, over 70 yards for Glover, and 2 TDs for the Renegades. 2nd and 2. And Connolly will look to throw. Now flushed out of the pocket, trying to get up the middle. Has the first down across midfield. Hit across the 45, still on his feet, dragging 3 or 4 players with him. Connolly with a great individual effort.
Boy, again, Bill Mongan had a shot at him for minus yardage. It almost looked out. We have a flag too, Jack, on the play. See, there's the tackle right there that he slipped by. And
it's going to be a personal foul against Shawnee, so that'll, from the spot of the foul, will wipe out the first down. Boy, a great effort by Connolly, but it's going to go for naught here as they'll mark this thing back now to almost the original line of scrimmage. In fact, that's just about where it is. It'll be 2nd and 3 instead of 2nd and 2. Bad part about that is it took some time off the clock. 51 seconds left to go. Both teams, though, have all 3 timeouts remaining. Now they're discussing the down situation here. They have first down marked, but if it is a dead ball foul, it would be first down. And so that's what it is. First down, they'll move the chains, but take away 15 yards on the penalty. That was a foul that occurred after the play was over, so that you give them the first down and then mark off the penalty yardage. Clock running, 44 seconds to go here till halftime. Ball at the 46-yard line. Connolly wanted to throw, and he's in trouble. Scampers forward for about a couple.
Time to use a timeout, I think, right here for Shawnee.
Bill Mongan caught him from behind, and the Renegades do call a timeout with 31 seconds remaining till halftime.
Jack, that is going to be a big personal foul call if Shawnee's not able to go in the end zone, because if not, they're much deeper in Eastern's territory. If Eastern can only go down 17-0, I think the Vikings have to feel fortunate. Another score, and it could just about put them away. So, again, Shawnee, as impressive as the Renegades have been, it could even be better had it not been for some very untimely penalties.
Well, we mentioned it. They've been able to overcome many of those this afternoon. But you're right, this one could hurt, Mark, because earlier they probably lost 4 points on virtue of the penalty, and they may walk away with nothing here when it looked like they were in pretty good shape inside the Eastern 40-yard line. Still 2 timeouts remaining for Shawnee, 3 for the Vikings. 31 seconds left till halftime.
I think if you're that sideline, you have to be pretty happy with what's going on here.
You kidding me? I mean, if you'd have told that coaching staff that they'd have a 17-0 lead at least at halftime, I think they'd have thought you were crazy. In a dominating performance by Shawnee. O'Connor in motion. He'll stay in as a blocker. Connolly going over the top. Has Glover open, and he had to turn around as the ball was thrown over the other shoulder. But what in the world happened to the defensive secondary of Eastern, Mark? Glover ran right on by.
Wasn't even play action fake, so Eastern was coming with some people on the blitz. But you're right. Watch him. He'll do a 360 over the other side of the shoulder, as you mentioned.
Goins was back there on coverage, and Fisher came in late to help, but it would have been way too late had Glover caught that in stride. That's the first miss by Connolly this afternoon. He's 4 of 5 passing. We'll take another shot here on 3rd down. No, they'll keep it on the ground, and that may be a concession that Shawnee is saying we'll go to the locker room with the 17-0 lead.
Eastern's thinking about calling a timeout. I would not do that.
No way.
I would. Some of the players are asking about that. I would just cut my losses right here.
Mark, if I'm Shawnee, I don't,
You call timeout with about 3
timeout.
seconds left.
In fact, that's not what they did, though. Call timeout, take another shot, but I guess the Vikings and Shawnee have had enough here in the first half. 1 half completed here in the opening round of the Group 4 playoffs, and so far it's a shocker. The 6th-seeded Shawnee Renegades with a 17-0 halftime lead. We'll be back with some statistics and halftime festivities, and of course more football for you right after this. Mark at halftime, and it has been all Renegades. I mean, if you didn't see this score, and we go right to the stat page here, it doesn't take a genius to figure out who's winning this ball game.
And Jack, the most amazing stat is look at the bottom. Eastern's only been penalized once. Shawnee 8 for 88. And had Shawnee not had those penalties, this could have even been a more dominating performance than it was, hard as it is to believe.
Well, certainly they had to settle for a field goal instead of a touchdown. And, of course, their last possession there just moments ago prior to halftime could have been different if it weren't for that 15-yard clipping penalty. But Mark, just a dominating attack. I mean, we talked about the possibility of Eastern dominating this football game, both in terms of time of possession and their running game, and yet it's been the Renegades that have done that today.
Right, and the other thing that hurts Eastern, look at the turnovers, 3. The last time these two teams played, Eastern coughed the ball up just 1 time, and that's really killed the Vikings as well. Jack, again, I'll say what I said late second quarter. I don't think Eastern should abandon its offense that it does best. Run the ball, establish the run. There still is enough time, but have to cut down on the mistakes.
Well, you remember the first time we were here, Mark, it was just a 7-6 game at halftime with Cherokee leading, and then the Vikings really made that look like a blowout really toward the end as Talaferro took control of the entire game, and he is a guy that can turn things around. I'm not saying it's all up to him, but you're right. I think this Eastern running attack has enough weapons where if they stay with a game plan here in the second half and of course they've got to not turn the ball over, things could be much, much different.
Jack, the other thing is the unsung heroes in this first half has to be the offensive line of Shawnee. What a job blowing off the ball, and let's include tight end Calla in there too. In addition to making a big reception to keep one of the drives alive, he's done a great job along with the linemen. They've won that edge decisively here in the first half.
Well, that's the story at halftime. 17-0. The Renegades with the lead. We'll be back with the opening kickoff of the second half in just a moment. Stay with us. Toughest job of all today, Mark. I mean, he's tried to do the best job he can to bring some life to this crowd today, but frankly, the Viking fans haven't had a whole lot to cheer about. Shawnee leading it 17-0, and you look at this second half, and boy, how important is it, Mark, that Eastern do something here on their first possession as they get the ball?
I think it's crucial, and as I said, late first half, this one's far from over, but you can't keep squandering the opportunities. And we say Eastern has to establish a ground game. They have to establish any kind of an offense here. 3 turnovers have really, really hurt as well.
Well, we've seen a lot of football, have you and I, partner, this year. I don't know that we've seen a more dominating performance by a defense this season, at least in the games that we have done. 29 yards of offense. That's not much happening.
Jack, they've only had
team.
10 offensive plays.
Yeah. And a couple of first downs, both on the benefit of penalties. Look at this, a short kick in between players, and it's fielded very nicely, picked up there by number 42, Omar Miles, and Miles runs it forward to about the 41, but you know that's not much different a result than they were getting by kicking it deep to guys like Davis or Talaferro. They tried to just lob that over the front line, and that's what they did, and Miles picked it up and got it to the 40. An official's timeout now as they were checking some equipment.
Well, also, Eastern had 12 people in the huddle. Oh, we're having a new quarterback here, Jack. Interesting. They're bringing in the junior Darrell Scott, who has great speed. He's a wide receiver as well.
They give it to Davis. Davis fumbles the ball, and Shawnee has it back to start the second half. A disastrous start for Eastern, who began their first possession much the same way, fumbling the kickoff. And here they fumble their first offensive play. That's the second drop for Davis today, and Shawnee back in business in Eastern territory.
I didn't know if the ground, I think Eastern thought the ground may have caused that fumble, but the officials were very decisive on that. And wow, Jack, you can't keep shooting yourself in the foot like this and expect to be competitive against a team like Shawnee.
4th turnover of the day for the Vikings. And Eastern now back on their heels once again. Connolly on first down, going for it all. Glover in stride, touchdown! Glover's 3rd TD of the day. This one from 44 yards away in the air, and the Renegades strike quickly.
He just got by the safeties that time. He had Dawson. Dawson had pretty good coverage on him, and then Glover, we talked about him having 10-8 speed in the 100 meters. Then really did a tremendous job separating the last few yards.
Great play, Mark. You called for this early in the first half when after a turnover you said, I like to go for it all on first down, and so does Tim Gashu, especially if he gets that result. My, oh my. The crowd's silent here at Eastern as they are shocked, and why not? With the extra point, Shawnee now leads it 24-0.
I don't know if Conley was in on that fumble recovery, but it was right around the ball. I know that.
And on a day when, you know, we're all talking about Talaferro, and rightfully so, what a great season he's had. He came in leading in rushing touchdowns, leading South Jersey in scoring. It's Glover that's getting all the headlines today. What a terrific day. 2 rushing touchdowns and now a 44-yard reception for a TD.
Well, Glover, of course, it's interesting. He had 4 touchdowns coming into today.
Larry Ginsburg, you just saw it, a great shot there, shaking his head. I don't even think he can believe this. His club now down 24-0, and
Well, Jack, we'll see what Eastern's made of because there's still 11:41 left in the third quarter. So we'll see what the Vikings are made of. Whether they hang their heads or whether they try to make something of this. Of course, Washington Township was scouting today because Eastern's supposed to play Township on Thanksgiving. And of course, if Eastern beats Washington Township, the Vikings will win the Olympic Conference American Division. And if they don't, it'll be Cherokee.
Yeah, of course, Eastern beating Cherokee head-to-head, so a tie would go in favor of the Vikings. There's a kick that's going to go out at the 14-yard line. So I think Eastern will go ahead and take the ball at the 35. We mentioned the quarterback change. It's been a rough day offensively. I don't know that it's been Andrew Dawson's fault, but for whatever reason, he's been benched here in the second half, and they are going with Darryl Scott.
I've said this before in the air. I think Scott, before it's all said and done, he's only a junior, will be a Division 1A type recruit. I don't think it'll be a quarterback, but he's got tremendous athletic ability, as does Dawson.
First and 10 at the 35 for Eastern, down 24-0. Scott with a pitch to Talafaro. They get him outside, get a block. Talafaro across the 45, spotted out of bounds at the 46, an 11-yard pickup and a first down.
You know, Mitch Davis showed me something there because Davis just fumbled the ball in the previous possession. He was the lead blocker that time and did a tremendous job staying with his block and helping Talafaro out, not hanging his head.
Well, just to tell you how miserable things have been, of course, there's a look at Dawson, who's been benched here in this second half at quarterback. That's only Talafero's third carry today. That's incredible. There's another pitch to him. This time they go to the right side. Talafaro with a big hole. Talafaro on the run at the 20. O'Connor with a hand on him. Does he stay in bounds? Yes, touchdown Adam Talafaro. They thought they knocked him out at the 10-yard line, but he goes 54 yards, and Eastern quickly on the board.
Well, now I know one reason why Darryl Scott was in there. Darryl Scott pitched that ball off at the most opportune moment. He waited until the last second. He got leveled, but gave Talafaro a chance to get outside.
Well, you see how fast they can attack with Talafaro. And you know that Shawnee probably at this point, Mark, doesn't think they have enough points.
Look at that. He was hammered. He was hammered that time on the pitch that time. And look at Talafaro carrying that ball like a loaf of bread right there.
And, of course, while we're taking a look at the terrific run, you see he did stay in bounds there at the 10-yard line. The extra point was converted. So with 11 minutes left in the third, the Vikings use less than a minute and get the points back that they gave up on the turnover. They are finally on the board. It's 24-7.
So this is like what it was at halftime, only a minute to lap.
And I think if you, I think that's exactly what you say as a coach. I mean, I think you go out to your team and go, look, we're back in it. It was 17-0 at half. It's 24-7. There's no difference now. Let's go back to doing what we talked about at halftime.
Yeah, Talafaro, that is his 8th run for a touchdown of over 40 yards, and that's not including a 90-yard kickoff return. Talk about a big play performer.
And he adds to his South Jersey scoring lead. Just 4 carries today, but a big one there for 54 yards.
Jack, let's say something about Dawson. First of all, he's still playing defense. He's done a lot for this team here, too. So he's been a major contributor, but sometimes you just have to shake things up.
Kay gets ready to kick it away. The former soccer player here at Eastern boots it deep down inside or at the 10-yard line where it's picked up by Glover. He comes straight up the middle. Glover nearly broke it through. He gets out to the 34-yard line. A return of about 25, and the Renegade offense, which has been very impressive here this afternoon, once again on the field. I think one thing also that we didn't talk about, Mark, we alluded to it a little bit, obviously through some of our statistics, has been not only has Shawnee dominated in their offensive play, but they have held the football an incredible amount of time today. And that's the one thing I think if you're Eastern, you hope doesn't happen here in the second half. Connolly On the option around the right side and across the 40-yard line to about the 43. Conley had 65 yards in the first half. Picks up 7 yards here in his first carry of the second.
Bill Mongram so close to getting Conley, and he's made so much yardage when you thought he was going to get tackled. Does any guy in South Jersey make more out of things than Conley does?
No, he was caught at the line of scrimmage on that last run, and you're right, Mark, made something out of nothing. O'Connor over the left side has the first down and gets out to midfield.
See, this is another example. Eastern was right there in defensive position that time, and Shawnee is just pulling them over, outpowering them. I mean, fundamentally, the defense is there, setting to make the tackles there, and look, O'Connor just scoots out and gains an extra 4 yards there.
A lot of credit. You mentioned it earlier, Mark, has to go to this offensive line at Shawnee. They've been very impressive. Curcio from the fullback slot straight ahead picks up about 3. Dan Hillman makes the stop for Eastern. Six guys in the book rushing for Shawnee today. They've had a very balanced attack. Here's Glover. This time stopped right at the line of scrimmage.
And that was Goins getting him from behind. And that's what you have to do if you're Eastern. Take advantage of that team speed, get to the runner. This is the first time Shawnee's been in 3rd and long yardage in a while.
Right, they had some 3rd and longs in that 20-play drive, but you're right, since then, Mark, it's been a long time. This is 3rd and 5. Connolly got some time. He's got Glover again past the defense and just overthrew him. Boy, Connolly showed me something there, throwing nearly Mark off the wrong foot and across his body, and he actually outthrew his receiver that time.
Actually, I thought at first his initial receiver was Calla going short on a short out, but they double-teamed the tight end that time. Eastern did, because they had been burned there. Looked at Glover, and how about the route that Glover runs out of the backfield?
And so for the first time today, the Renegades will punt. Now they split a receiver out wide to the right. Eastern covers a long snap count and nearly snapped it over the punter's head. Wobbly kick. It's going to take a bounce, and bounce picked up by Talaferro inside the 10-yard line, and that was a mistake. I know Talaferro's trying to make something out of nothing, and he's capable of making that play, Mark, but he cost his team about 6 yards there. Had the ball at about the 10-yard line, and this will be spotted back, well, near the 6, so a loss of about 4 on the return.
Jack, actually, I don't think it was a bad play, because that ball could have rolled closer to the goal line, and they could have downed it even. I thought not a bad gamble.
(24-7). Shawnee with the lead now on defense. They show a little blitz here. On the ground, they'll keep it straight ahead. Carter pulls forward to about the 10. Well, Mark, you know the difference between you and I mean, just a little bit more conservative. Your team down by 17, you know. I like to see guys run away from those punts bouncing all over the place down there on your own end. If you muff a punt and Shawnee gets it back inside your 10, you got real problems.
There's no question about it.
Carter picked up 3. It'll be 2nd and 7. On the option, Talaferro tries to get outside, gets a block from Davis. Now he cuts it back inside and gets across the 15. He'll be close to a first down. It looks like just a little shy of the mark.
You see how he caught that with one hand on the pitch that time? Now, Jack, Eastern can't go to Talaferro every play, although they'd probably like to. Davis is going to eventually have to step up, get a big run, and he's certainly capable of that. Look at that. That's behind him. Davis with a nice lead block there. Also Sharp getting his head in there with a block as well.
Well, he had about 3 great blocks in front of him, but Reynolds finally got over there defensively. Here's Carter, and Carter stacked up at the line of scrimmage. He could not get through, and he'll be shy of the first down. Or will he? Now they're spotting the ball out.
I think he'll get it.
Yeah, good spot that time as they'll mark his forward progress to about the 17, and that's all they needed. He got 2 yards and the first down. He was knocked back, but they spotted the ball at the 17.
Carter has such good speed. I mean, he'd be a tailback on most teams in South Jersey.
And he was the running back here. They've moved him to the fullback position with the addition of Davis. And they like the idea because it gives him a very quick backfield. This time Talifero in the slot to the right side. He sometimes gets the handoff inside this way. Nope, they're going to throw the ball. Davis on the screen play, covered nicely by Shawnee, as 3 white shirts surround it, but a pickup of about 5 for Eastern.
One thing about Eastern, this offense really, they don't throw downfield a lot, but I still think, and I said it before in the Cherokee game, that they could take better advantage of throwing to their backs, and that was an example that time. Davis getting in a one-on-one situation. Nice job by Shawnee converging on the ball.
Second down and 5. We're just about at the midway point of this third quarter. Eastern trying to dig themselves out. Talifero fumbled, and does Shawnee have it back? They were there quickly, but it looks like Adam Talifero was able to jump back on it. Very fortunate. That could have been the 5th turnover of the day for the Vikings. Wow.
Shawnee's Dave Webb, all 276 pounds of him, number 72, was right there, and Talifero just got underneath it.
Boy, you like to say that, you know, sometimes when you have turnover problems, well, the weather bothered us, whatever. I mean, it's a gorgeous day here today.
There comes outside to Talifero.
They're going to look that way. They're looking to throw over the middle. Talifero as a receiver had beat the defender and couldn't hang on. Connolly was covering, but Talifero went right on by him. And Scott, I'll tell you what, led Talifero very nicely that time.
Maybe a hair too far, but that's a catch he can make.
Well, he had to split the defender here, but look at this almost play. I mean, Talifero had that on the hands and just couldn't bring it home.
It's interesting. We said in the pregame that Shawnee might have to use a little deception and everything on Eastern. Hasn't been that way. It's just been basic, pounding them. How about a long count here to try to draw an offside?
I think you've got to. They did go with a little longer count. Kay with the punt, and he kicks it right over the head of Phillips. This will take an Eastern bounce and be down by the Vikings inside the 25-yard line. So a very good kick that time for Kay. And the Renegades will have to start with the nose of the football on their own 25. But they hold defensively. 5:10 left to go here in the third. Still 24-7 Shawnee.
By the way, Talifero not in that defensive backfield right now. We saw against Cherokee when he was out. Cherokee picked on his replacement. Into the game for Eastern 42, Omar Miles playing that cornerback position along with Hicks on the other corner.
I'd be surprised, though, with a 24-7 lead. I know that Shawnee won't get too conservative, but they've been so successful in the run here today, you would have to think that unless it's third down and, you know, more than 5 yards, you're probably going to see the Renegades stick with what has worked best for them today. O'Connor with the carry there for about 4. Maybe 5 as they'll mark the ball up near the 30.
Again, Jack, that was a play where it looked like it was going to be stopped much sooner than that, and Shawnee just continues to get a surge.
O'Connor again, this time caught in the backfield. Nice play by Goins, who's had a couple of those today, and once again he gets the running back from behind.
Well, he's blitzing from the safety position coming up that time.
Brings up a 3rd and 6.
So it's 3rd down and about 5.
Amir Khan in that play as well. They've had a lot of success, haven't they, sending Glover out?
And now a timeout having to be used by Shawnee, the first of the second half. 3:58 left to go here in the 3rd. Renegades with a 24-7 lead, and they want to talk about things here on 3rd down and 6. As you can see, just a picture-perfect day here, at least for being out and enjoying a football game. Unfortunately for folks on this side, they haven't had quite as much enjoyment as they thought they would. Eastern came in as the number 3 seed in this Group 4 field. Shawnee as the number 6 seed. Of course, the records were close. The Vikings 6-2 on the year. Shawnee 5-3. And of course, as we've talked about already a lot today, one of the 3 losses for the Renegades to these Vikings just a couple of weeks ago.
Keep in mind, it wasn't like that was a blowout, and it was tied 14 going in the final quarter, and then Eastern won it on the sharp 21-yard reception from Dawson.
Well, and remember, you mentioned this, Mark, in our pregame show. Eastern scored on virtue of a 90-yard kickoff return on the opening kickoff of the game by Talaferro. Here's flags on the play, and I don't think this one's going to count. And they also got a couple of big plays defensively. You know, we talked about the turnovers today on Eastern. They got a critical turnover on Shawnee in that game. Plus, they stopped the Renegades deep in their own territory right near the end. So you're right. It was, you know, a couple of things one way or the other could have been a different result in that one. Shawnee had 8 penalties in the first half. This is the first flag thrown on the Renegades here in the second. But a critical one as it takes them out of a 3rd and 5 and presents now a 3rd down and about 11. It's actually 3rd and 6, so it's 3rd and 11 now. Looks like they're coming with the same play. Very tight formation. O'Connor in motion. Little misdirection. Phillips slipped as he tried to cut it back in, and he'll be shy of the first down after picking up about 7 on the play. 4th and 4, and the Renegades will have to punt.
Again, Dave Webb, number 72. The big tackle, getting all 276 pounds. Look at that. Just plowing people out of there.
You're going 276 against, what, 215 there in Evans. You've got a little advantage. Good snap this time. Eastern with a little bit of pressure. Wobbly kick. Dawson will fair catch it at his own 45-yard line. So great field position for the Vikings, but they've got work to do. 3:07 left here in the 3rd, down by 17.
And defensively, from an Eastern standpoint, that's what has to be done, because only 2 minutes and 3 seconds elapsed on that Shawnee possession.
Yeah, that's much different than Eastern was able to do in the first half. Obviously, you need the ball if you're going to score most times on offense. Scott still in there at quarterback. Little reverse handoff. A spin to Talaferro. Bounced off a couple of tackles. Adam Talaferro with a pickup of 10. Very close to an Eastern first down inside Shawnee territory at the 44.
Jack, he's a premier back, but he's carrying that ball like a loaf of bread, and if he doesn't tuck it away, Eastern has to watch out for turnover number 5. Look at it out there. He almost got bumped by his own teammate that time.
7 carries, 93 yards for Talaferro. And a first down for the Vikings at the Shawnee 44-yard line. Give it to Davis this time. He goes straight ahead for just a couple. Tom O'Connor there to make the stop, along with number 81, Jim Keller. And Davis is a guy, Mark, you mentioned it a little earlier in the half here, a guy that I think if you're Shawnee, you got to be careful of. He hasn't carried a whole lot today.
Gained 75 yards against them the last time with Eastern.
Just 7 in the ball game so far here today. 2nd and 8. split the bone. Davis goes in motion this time. And give it to Carter, the fullback. Right up the middle. No, we said it was Carter. It was actually given on the option. Scott kept it after he rode the fullback. And picks up about 4.
See, now you're Eastern. You're in 4-down territory. The only problem is, Jack, when down by 17, you've got to get these plays run quicker. They're running time off the clock with these running plays, so you have to get in and out of the huddle as quick as possible.
Yeah, Eastern will be fortunate to score before the end of this quarter, down to 1:10 here. Davis again in motion. Scott with a late handoff. Ball is loose. What in the world happened there? Carter carried, I guess, got about a yard and then dropped the ball after he was tackled.
Well, he got hammered by Tom O'Connor that time, who really came up strong in run support.
You're right. Hit right at the line of scrimmage that time, and that was...
that was Webb, excuse me.
Big,
yep.
Big Webb there on the play. Dave Webb. So a big 4th down for Eastern. 4th at about 3. Talifero moved in the backfield. He reset before the snap. Now he's got the ball on the carry, trying to get the first down. It's going to be very close as he dove across the 35-yard line. The question is, where do they spot the football? Shawnee thinks they've made a stop. We can't really see it from our perspective because of the players standing at the sideline. But not a lot of excitement. There's a good look at it from our camera position. I don't know, Mark. That's going to be very close. He did need to get inside the 35, and it looks like he's done that. We'll just have to wait and see as they'll stop the clock for a measurement with 20 seconds remaining here in the 3rd.
He had presence of mind, though, 2 set.
Now Scott blocking the view, and it is... Shawnee thinks it's short. That's how close it is. I mean, they are really getting down to look at this one. And they're going to award the first down, but it took 4 officials to decide on that. Well, 3 officials around the ball. And look at the effort on the dive by Talifero. And he just broke the 35-yard line for the first.
Obviously, had he not made that dive, he wouldn't have had the first down.
That is a huge play for the Vikings. This will do it for the 3rd quarter of play with 10 seconds left. 1st and 10 for the Vikings on the 35. Scott to throw with 3 receivers out to the right. Picked off by O'Connor. The 5th turnover of the day. O'Connor played the pass beautifully and intercepts right at the end of the 3rd quarter. We'll take another look as we go to break. It's been all Renegades after 3. It's Shawnee 24, Eastern 7. We'll be back with the 4th quarter in just a moment. On a great pick that time, marked by O'Connor, but you'd have to say that Scott really telegraphed the ball out there a little bit. I mean, he looked at the receiver, and just decided he was going to throw no matter what.
Yeah, I just don't think he even saw O'Connor in that coverage that time.
Well, O'Connor saw him, that's for sure, as he comes up with the interception. That's the 2nd interception thrown today by Eastern. The first one, of course, by Scott, and it kills a potential scoring drive as the Vikings were inside the 35. Interesting, Mark. You know, we see this a lot. Teams, and I really do believe you have to mix it up once in a while, so I'm not faulting the play calling, but boy, how many times do you see a team having a little bit of success with something and then they go to something else and it just doesn't work out? I mean, they're running the football, and then on 1st down they throw and it's an interception.
The one thing is, Jack, the clock is their enemy, Eastern's enemy.
And Shawnee going for it all again as they tried to get Glover one-on-one against Dawson. He was step for step with him that time.
I think you have an illegal shift on Shawnee. And,
right.
And I'll tell you what, if I'm Eastern, I would decline it. They need to get the ball back. And to give them the 5 yards and 1st down still, I would just... I put him at 2nd and 10.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's probably 6 one, half dozen the other. I think the only negative thing about declining a penalty like that, Mark, is that, you know, this is a Shawnee team that really, and we don't have this statistic in front of us, but I'd have to say, just by guessing, is rolling off yardage on the ground at 5 and 6 yards a clip. And by the way, Coach Ginsburg must have been listening, because he's now declined the penalty. It's
Well,
2nd and 10.
if Coach Ginsburg has to listen to me, he's in trouble.
He's really in a desperate shape today. 2nd down and 10. They do decline. Eastern now showing a 9-man front, but that does work that time as Evans makes the hit on O'Connor. O'Connor gets just a yard, so it'll be 3rd and 9. Well, certainly the Eastern defense has done a better job here in this second half, but they were in a 17-0 hole at halftime. And since that point, the teams have traded touchdowns, so it's still a 17-point lead. Third and 9. O'Connor goes in motion this time. He's open in the flat as a receiver. Now Connolly, trying to get away from traffic, gets rid of the football and throws it to his sideline. Veteran play by the quarterback from Shawnee. Rather than take the loss, he throws it out of play, and the Renegades will have to punt.
Nice job by Greg Wren on the pass rush. He hit Conley a little bit, but he avoided any kind of thought of a roughing the passer type penalty or anything. So good job by Wren putting on the pressure. And again, Jack, that sequence took just 52 seconds. That's what you need if you're Eastern.
Well, the Vikings defense has given an opportunity there to the offense here in the second half. They have been able to score 7. They've been plagued by a couple of turnovers here in this second half, too. Another high snap and a good punt that turns end over end. Dawson gets it back at his 30 and is dropped immediately. Good punt that time by Shawnee. Nice hang time. Gave the coverage team time to get down there. And the Vikings will try it again with just 10:56 left in our ball game.
Nick Mortos, number 78, got excellent pressure that time on Lamb, punting it. Thought he was going to have a chance to block it.
And Mark, I know at halftime we talked about staying with the game plan and trying to get Talifero outside in the running game. Things getting a little bit more disconcerting now, though, for Eastern. Still down by 17 and only just a little under 11 minutes to go.
I still think they have to run the ball, Jack. They haven't shown that they can pass it consistently. If they're going to pass it, they got to pass it to Talifero.
They're going to go on first down with the pass. Scott trying to get Talifero out in the flat, and it's picked off once again. Joe Phillips gets it. There is a flag on the play that I think is going to go against Shawnee. Now we'll have to wait and see whether or not that's before the interception or not. It was actually thrown after the ball was picked off. That doesn't mean the foul occurred before or after. It is offensive interference against Eastern, so they'll wipe that out, and this will go as the 6th turnover of the game.
This is a ball that Talifero was not open on the out, so he went up on that, and he wasn't open there either.
Too much air underneath that ball, really, Mark. I mean, it didn't really give Talifero even a chance to catch that. Phillips, the only guy in the area.
Jack, wait a minute. There's a change here. Eastern's offense still on the field.
So now are they saying that the interference is against Shawnee? So it is against the Renegades. How about that? We saw O'Connor get tangled up out there, and even though the flag was thrown after the pick, obviously that occurred prior to the interception, did the foul. So Eastern gets the ball back. They turned it over, but they get it back on the penalty. And the Vikings with a first down now at their own 44-yard line. Good break for Eastern. This time they'll keep it on the ground. The late pitch goes to Omar Miles, and Miles with little gain. First carry of the ball game for Miles. He gets just one. 2nd and 9. Clock running. 10-12 to go here in the ball game. Inside handoff, and Carter is stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Now, wait a minute. Was the ball loose? No, they're going to mark him down for a loss of about 2 or 3. That would have been something. Big Dave Webb at 276 pounds had the ball and was running toward the goal line. Now the officials are going to talk about this here. Is the ball down? Yeah, they're going to rule it down. Now the question is, Mark, could that have been a touchdown, and why did they stop the play? I mean, I don't know. If it's truly a fumble, Webb certainly was never tackled, so you have to wonder what in the world happened there.
I don't know.
The only thing it could have been is Webb would have had to have been on the ground.
Right.
And we don't know that was true or not. So obviously they must have ruled him down on the ground. But another turnover, the 6th of the day for Eastern. Yeah, you can't be laying on the ground, obviously, pick up the ball and running for a touchdown in high school. You're down with your knees on the ground. So we'll have to assume that that's what happened to Webb. We don't get another look at it. But at any rate, a fumble on Carter and a critical turnover against the Vikings, who have just killed themselves today with miscues. Here's Glover, and look at this. Glover off and running inside the 20-yard line. What a day for the senior running back for Shawnee today. That's a pickup of 21 and a first down for the Renegades. Knocking on the door of 100 yards. He only has 3 touchdowns today. 1 on a pass reception here in the second half. 2 rushing. 1st and 10 at the Vikings 18-yard line. Keeping it inside. Curcio bounces off a couple of tackles and gets inside to about the 10. Late flag thrown on the play. And you wonder if this is not one of those frustration penalties. Could have been a little extracurricular activity against Eastern here. The officials talking this one over. Last 2 plays, Mark, though, you can almost see the heart taken out of the Viking defense. They give up a 22-yard run to Glover. And this one, they don't wrap Curcio up very well at the line of scrimmage. And now a face mask penalty will tack on a little yardage to the run. And you have to say, certainly, you know, defensively here in the second half, the Vikings have done a little bit better job, but the offense hasn't been able to benefit from that.
It's interesting. Eastern's career record in the state tournament is 4-10, and the Vikings have not had a lot of success in the postseason. And maybe one reason, Jack, is that when this offense is going, it really goes well. And even before Coach Ginsburg, when John Batchelor was here, they were a ground-oriented team. But when they have to pass, that's where a lot of trouble is, and there's not a lot of diversity there.
1st and goal from the 7. Glover on the right side, stopped as he gets inside the 5.
Tackle by Hungan.
The Vikings, although it looks at this point like they will be taking an early exit out of the playoffs, as you mentioned, Mark, still have a lot to play for this season, as they'll still have an opportunity to win the conference. Inside, Connolly on the option, touchdown.
Connolly on the kick. Touchdown.
Mike Connolly from 3 yards out on the option, and Shawnee with another 6.
Wrote a nice block by Curcio that time to get in, and Connolly's just done it all today.
He's got over 70 yards on the ground.
Well, they have their all-conference voting this Wednesday. You think we'll get a few votes somewhere? I mean, they've got to find a place for him on that team. And it may be a quarterback. Well, there's some very good quarterbacks in this division.
Chad Williams for the extra point, and he's good again. So with 8:48 left here in the ball game, it's now Shawnee 31, Eastern 7.
Look, he actually slipped on that and still got in. There you see Curcio in the middle of that pile.
Score. Renegades 31.
You know, the band always plays after every score. That's sort of high school tradition. I have a feeling the Renegade band feels like they've been playing all day. 31 points on the board, and this really, Mark, I mean, I think both you and I thought that Shawnee certainly had almost as good a chance to win this game as Eastern did, although you have to say Eastern on paper was favored. But, you know, I don't think either one of us expected the type of dominating performance that they put forth here today.
No question. The only people more tired than the Shawnee band has to be the Eastern defense today. Just a great performance. We talked about Conley with the all-conference voting. Some pretty good quarterbacks in this conference. Chris Spina, who we saw from Cherokee. Jim McCullough from Triton. But I think Conley will get himself a few votes somewhere. Whether it's on offense or defense, so will that guy.
Yeah, he's going to get votes for more than just all conference, I think. Talafaro has had a tremendous season, and he'll get it on a return, and he can make things happen here. He starts inside his own 20, uses his speed to get to the outside, has some block. He's got daylight. If he could get down the sideline, he is caught at the last moment, and it was Curcio who tripped him at the 40. Had it not been for Curcio, that would have been 6. Great diving effort by Curcio to save a touchdown. Boy, this guy is exciting on return, isn't he?
He's exciting anytime he touches the ball.
I'd like to see him tuck that ball away, though, Mark. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm sure most college coaches looking at him are going to want him to learn how to tuck that thing under. But see, he doesn't even do it on contact, which is the scary thing. Curcio made the hit. Regardless, great effort by Talafaro. Eastern at the Shawnee 35, still 8:38 left. But the Vikings down 31-7. Scott will look to throw. He gets a good block from Davis, has plenty of time. Looking downfield, throws it into traffic, and nothing going. Sharp was fighting for the football down there.
Joe Phillips right there doing a nice job on defense for Shawnee.
This is a ball that easily could have been picked off.
Well, kind of wobbling, didn't have a tight spiral on it. Had plenty of time. Actually, Sharp went up a little early for that ball that time, as you saw there on the replay.
And you're right now, Mark. I agree with you. Eastern out of their game plan right now. I mean, they are clearly not comfortable having to throw the football. A team that relies so much on the run, and this puts the Vikings a little out of their element. 2nd and 10. Sharp pass over the middle. Davis open at the 15, and a first down for Eastern.
By the way, another quarterback I didn't mention in this division is Dave Crockett of Washington Township, who's had a nice year, who Eastern will now face. And how about Eastern? Eastern will get to play on Thanksgiving for the first time in a long, long time. Both Eastern and Washington Township won't be involved in the playoffs.
No, I think going into this day, though, they'd have traded the turkey date for another shot in the playoffs. They'll get 10 days off now before having to play, or 10 days of practice anyway, before having to go at it again. Scott tucks it under, gets out of bounds, picks up just about a yard, stops the clock with 7:59 to go.
How about Dave Webb, all 276 to him, chasing Darryl Scott, who has a little bit of motor in his wheels, and Dave Webb just getting the push to push him out of bounds. Webb has had a monster game today.
Well, we wondered coming in, would it be the size of Shawnee or the speed of Eastern? And I think we've seen today it's been the size and power of the Renegades that has had the better of it this day.
Well, Jack, I'll get to it after this play.
Here's Carter. It's fullback Carter inside the 5 and tackled at about the 1.
It's also been the speed of Shawnee, because Glover has shown a tremendous ability to get to the outside and also to get deep on pass patterns.
So a first and goal for Eastern now with the ball at the 3-yard line. On the ground, Talifero, they're right at the goal line. Still no signal. The officials coming in. Is it or isn't it? They're going to pull everybody off, I guess, and rule him down right at the goal line. So no touchdown for Talifero. I would imagine with the scoring title still on the line, they'll probably give it back to him here on second and goal from the 1-foot line.
You know what? I don't think that'll play in their thinking at all. I don't think they care about the scoring title right now. They just want to get in the end zone.
Second and goal. It goes back to Talifero, and he waltzes in. Touchdown, Adam Talifero, his second of the day. And the Vikings strike quickly, and it was all Talifero there. A fine return on the kickoff, and he caps it off with a touchdown.
Not a bad block by Justin Barton, who I feel is going to be one of the best senior linemen next year in South Jersey. There they are coming at you. And he makes it in for the touchdown. 23 on the year, and they're going for 2 here, Jack. No surprise with 6:47 left.
Scott will line his team up. They go with Carter as a single back, 3 receivers to the left side.
Talifero in the slot.
And they'll go to Talifero. They were trying to, and ball tipped away as Scott kind of lobbed that but could not get it over. Big Shane Hall that time, and the 2-point conversion fails. 6:47 left to go in the ball game. Now 31-13 Shawnee.
Well, if there's any question, you're going to see an onside kick here.
Here's another look at the 2-point conversion and the tip.
Boy, they look like they're going out for Joe Kessler's basketball team there, don't they? Which, by the way, talk about that. Shawnee's certainly going to be ranked in the top 5, you would think, in South Jersey in hoops. Not too long before we're going to be starting that, Jack.
So, of course, college basketball already underway, and that is quickly followed by the high school action, which begins just prior to Christmas time.
Of course, you can see Talifero's athletic ability also on the basketball court. He's the starting point guard here for the Vikings under new coach Dave Allen. Look, they have everybody with good hands up front. Are they? Actually, they don't. They have a lot of their linemen still, but
now they'll shift everybody over the left side. Kay will kick it that way. No surprise here as they go for the onside kick, and it is fielded cleanly. They never really got the big bounce you look for on an onside, and Shawnee will take over at their own 41-yard line.
You know who got that ball? Shane Hall. Shane Hall used to play basketball, and from what people tell me, was a very, very agile player. Remember, Jack, he missed just about all of last year with the foot injury.
Now that would be scary. 300 pounds in the middle of your basketball lineup. On first down, Glover along the right side, slithering through, takes a big hit at the 45.
You know, it's interesting. Shane Hall tentatively has a recruiting visit set to the University of Iowa December 5th. Well, guess what? Shawnee still might be playing football by then. He might have to cancel that.
He may have something to do on December the 5th.
Coach Gashu said, you know, get an airline ticket that you can get a refund from, because he says we'd like to still be playing by then.
Well, the way that they have played today, I mean, honestly, if they can execute this way on offense, no reason to believe that they wouldn't be playing on the 5th, which would be championship date here in South Jersey.
Well, Tim Cashew said he wanted to get his running game in order. After only 77 yards last week against Cherokee, wanted to get his special teams. And I know Talaferro's had a couple long returns, but I think they've shored themselves up in both of those areas here today.
Connolly on the keeper, and he's very close to a first down. And they'll have to see where they spot the football, but that's another great individual effort by Connolly.
Wow, he just bounced off that hit that time by Amir Khan, didn't he?
They're going to come out and measure this thing. And as they stretch the chains, you'll get a look at it from the end zone. Tough to tell from that perspective, but it's just enough for the first down. Well, Mark, it's kind of interesting. You know, this is the first year of the expanded playoff format with 8 teams in each group qualifying. And here's an instance where a 6th seed in Shawnee that would not have made the playoffs a year ago is going to knock off a number 3 seed to advance.
Yeah, Jack, this format will get voted on in 2 more years by the schools again, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they do vote. I know a lot of the coaches seem to like the expanded football idea.
This was really a strange kind of weekend, too, in football in South Jersey, because most folks, I guess, have realized by now, if you didn't have a playoff game, then as long as you didn't try to get out of one before the season started, your 10th game then was assigned by the state. So we had some matchups that were taking place in South Jersey for the first time in many, many years. I mean, you know, looking in the paper, seeing a Middle Township playing a Pemberton for the first time since the 60s, and, you know, on and on. The list just went on. And so it was kind of a strange week for coaches all over. As some coaches were preparing for playoffs, there were other coaches that were preparing for teams that they had never seen before.
Jack, I'll give you an instance. I had a couple of football coaches call me at my house Sunday saying, do you know who we're going to play? Because they based those consolation games on the power ratings unless you have played the team before. So we were figuring out power ratings and taking guesses on who certain teams might be playing. Shows you what I do on my Sundays.
3rd down and 5 as the clock continues to run. 3:50 left to go. They'll try to keep it inside with Curcio. Boy, he's a tough guy, and he bounces off a couple of tackles, makes a yard out of nothing there.
Yeah, Mike Doherty stuck with it that time, getting that first hit.
Well, Mark, this is, of course, a Group 4 game, just a quarterfinal game. Boy, you talk about the options. We don't know, of course, by the time this game is broadcast, of course, the results will be known. But as we broadcast this and as we tape this contest, we don't know what's going on in the rest of the group. But a lot of interesting possibilities. How about maybe even the possibility of Shawnee taking on their sister school next week in Cherokee? Yeah. That is a possibility, as the winner of this game will face the winner of the Cherokee Brick Township game. Who do you like in Group 4?
You know, it's easy to say Overbrook because Overbrook's the top seed, but until somebody beats the Rams, I like them. Injuries aside and everything like that, I like them. Even though I expect them to have trouble scoring today against Lenape, a very good defensive team.
And of course, Group 3, really, most of our South Jersey teams are shut out of that group. But
well, I think Mainland's got a 10-2 career record in the playoffs. He's won 3 straight Group 3 titles on the field, and Bob Coffey has a way of getting his team ready. But Group 3 is loaded. I mean, with Toms River South and Ocean City and Mainland and Delsea. You know, you forget about Delsea too, but I kind of like the Mustangs in Mainland.
Group 2 with a couple of undefeated teams in there. A team that we saw last week in Morristown. Punt upcoming here on 4th and 9 after a delay of game penalty. The Renegades get it away, and it's fair caught by Dawson back at his own 21-yard line. Of course, for the first time also, you talk about that expanded team. You have a sub-500 team in that Group 2 field in Northern Burlington. That would have never happened in the past, but the Greyhounds taking a shot at postseason today.
There's Tim Gashew, and he has to be happy. I'll tell you what, again, we don't know the results right now, but I would expect that Group 2 1 versus 8 game Hamilton Delran to be much more competitive than the seeds would suggest. I know nobody wanted to face Delran with a quarterback like Teddy Trump. I know Hamilton wasn't exactly thrilled about that. That's no easy first-round game.
Hamilton at 8-0 and Delran at 5-3, but that record, that Delran record, a little deceiving. Here's Scott breaking out of the pack, and Darryl Scott, the quarterback, out across the 40-yard line, and a nice pickup here on the straight individual play. And of course, Group 1, I mean, Mark, we saw the record go by the wayside earlier with Paulsboro seeing their streak ended, but I think we've said this a couple of times, until somebody beats them at the playoffs, they've still got to be the favorite there.
There's no question, but the gap between Paulsboro and everybody else is a lot less. They've already lost to Woodbury. They could end up meeting again. I think Florence, the team we saw last week, could be very, very competitive. Maybe Florence-Woodbury in round 2 would be a very interesting game.
And we'll see. Of course, we'll have more playoff action for you hopefully next week, depending on the matchup. There's Davis actually becoming a defender on the play that time, and Mitch Davis is hurt. Well, that's the one thing you don't want to see in a contest like this.
Jack, how about some of the Thanksgiving Day games that are going to have a lot of meaning? Camden Wilson. Wilson can win the Olympic National with a win there. We talked about the Eastern Washington Township game. Some very Holy Cross playing Morristown.
Holy Cross and Morristown, right, for the Liberty.
Although that one may not be Thanksgiving Day.
Well, you know, as we mentioned, this Shawnee team, a team that got in as a result of this expanded field, and they had to work to get here. We talked to Tim Gashu about his Renegades making the postseason. Here's what he had to say.
You know, we feel we've had a tradition here in the 90s now where, you know, we expect to be in the playoffs. And even though, you know, somebody said, well, there's 8 teams this year, it still was a formidable task to get here. And, you know, we end up being the 6th seed. You know, I think our kids work real hard, and they give a lot of attention to detail. They work hard in the offseason, and, you know, this has become our benchmark. We expect to be here, and I think the players here year in and year out now expect the same thing.
Well, they certainly have made one of their goals a reality, and another one here today, picking up a very impressive victory. Here's a ball that's tipped around and brought down by Miles. He'll be caught out across midfield. Out of a weird play, but Miles came down with the football.
Jack, you have to remember how much Tim Gashu's done for this program. His record after today is going to be 87, 56, and 6, but they had 8 straight winning seasons up until last year, and they went 4-5. And I know the Shawnee staff, they were hit hard by graduation, but thought, hey, that's an aberration, and we're ready to get back and pick it up, and obviously they have. Of course, they had the playoff runs, losing to Washington Township in the finals in '96. That was, again, with Conley at quarterback. He got a lot of experience there, and that guy may want to put his shirt on, huh?
Been a tough day for the Vikings, for all the Vikings here today. Comes the blitz by Shawnee. Scott gets it away. He's got Miles open, and he drops the football. Boy, Scott put it on the money. Hit Miles in the numbers, but he couldn't come down with it.
You know why? Miles jumped, and this happens all the time when receivers, they jump when they don't have to, and it throws them off.
Yeah, you're right. This is in stride almost.
It wasn't a high throw or anything like that, but he just jumped, and I think that threw his timing. Look, there's no reason. I think also he saw Conley at the side of his eye ready to whack him, too.
That stops the clock with 1:37 left to go.
Well, Jack, 6 turnovers is just not going to do it against anybody, let alone a good team like Shawnee.
Here comes Carter. He's got the first down, so we'll keep it alive for Eastern. Conley finally makes the tackle, but not before he gets inside the 35-yard line. And the first down will stop the clock, but it looks like Eastern's going to use the timeout anyway. They will hold it at 1:30 left to go. Well, depending on the outcome today, we could have some great South Jersey matchups in Group 4. We talked about the possibility of Shawnee playing Cherokee. We also could see that rematch between Overbrook and Pennsauken. Again, a lot of things have to happen right, but it could make for an interesting couple of weeks. Of course, round 2 of the playoffs next week in South Jersey. They'll take the weekend off for Thanksgiving. And, of course, championship games will be played on December the 5th. There are a lot of neutral sites that are out there in plan, so a lot of the details on some of those games not yet set. We'll have to sort of play that by ear, but we are hoping that we'll, and it looks pretty good, that we'll have another matchup for you, a semifinal game next weekend here on Garden State. Of course, those teams not yet set, but we'll bring you the best possible matchup we can bring you from our teams here in South Jersey still alive after this afternoon. On first down, Scott gets rid of the football as he gets hit. Sharp had a step on Phillips and the ball just a little underthrown.
Tell you, Scott showed something staying in there because he got leveled by Shane Hall again.
Fortunately, Scott has another Renegade on the other side here to sort of cushion the blow.
Yeah, that was Cal. Oh.
Little sandwich job, but I don't know. But the alternative there is being pummeled to the ground with 300 pounds.
Jack, that's a pretty good arm. I mean, he got hammered by those two, was going to his left, and still got it there in the end zone.
Good coverage by Phillips, though, on the play. Kind of easy to cover. You sort of know what's happening here. Scott avoids the pressure. He needs to get rid of the football and cannot do it. The linebacker Reynolds on the blitz, and he has the big sack. Reynolds has had a nice game here this afternoon, including an interception. Hacksaw
Reynolds has just done it here today. I mean, you're right about the interception. He's just caused a lot of trouble. You know what's interesting about Shawnee? They've had a lot of people do it defensively. I think defensive coordinator Brian Anderson has to be really happy with it. It's just a total team effort. We've called so many people there. There's Reynolds making a nice short tackle on a guy who's pretty elusive.
Third down, they go to Talaferro through the air. He gets back to near the original line of scrimmage, does not get out of bounds. So the clock continues to run, and Coach Ginsburg going to call a timeout with 30 seconds left. Now they're calling for the timeout. Nobody on the field knew he wanted it, and finally they stopped the clock with 27 seconds remaining. On fourth down, so the Vikings will go for one more play.
Keep in mind, Jack, that even the #1 team in South Jersey, Overbrook, was only able to get 22 points on this Vikings team. No one has scored as many as this 31-point total this year. Actually, Pemberton had the most, 26 in a 38-26 Eastern win. And there's a future Viking fan, maybe. Yeah, I don't think he likes to score either.
No, nobody on this side of the stand seems too pleased with the outcome today, and why should they? I think they had a lot different ideas about what would happen here today than what actually transpired. And Shawnee took the took the crowd out of this early. I mean, they had a 17-0 lead at halftime and really have never looked back.
But how about Shawnee too? After bouncing back from 2 tough losses where they were very competitive against Eastern and Cherokee, and to come up with an effort like this.
You mentioned 77 yards rushing in the game last week. They had that in the first quarter here today. Here's Scott on fourth down. Talaferro was open, but he underthrows him, and Phillips has another pick. Joe Phillips bringing it back the other way, going toward the sideline. This may run the clock out, but Phillips may put a highlight together here at the end. He's finally caught as he gets into Viking territory. But Phillips with the interception, the 7th turnover today against the Vikings with just 9 seconds remaining.
Sort of like a microcosm of the whole game in that one play.
Well, I think if you're Eastern, Mark, you just sort of put this one out of your mind. I mean, you still have a lot to play for as a team,
Jack,
and you just forget this and move on.
There's no doubt about it. They have to suck it up because they have jackets to play for. You know, the championship in arguably the best division in South Jersey. So to me, there's a lot to play for against a Washington Township team that's playing pretty good football right now.
Connolly will take a knee, and that'll do it. Very impressive performance from start to finish by the Shawnee Renegades, the 6th seed with an upset over the 3rd seed today in the quarterfinal round of the South Jersey. The Renegades beating the Vikings 31-13. I'm Jack Hibbert along with Mark Narducci. And Mark, you know, we were just talking in the break. Had you said
31-13.